Dyslexia is complex. It's not the same for everyone, and it can be easily intertwined with other stuff, such as ADHD or autism. Between adult and children, it might not affect your life the same way. And also, if you had the privilege to have seen a therapist, of course, the way you deal with your dyslexia is fairly different from someone who haven't. So that's why I want to warn you, I am not a professional. I will just explain to you the difficulties I have faced and still face during my journey of learning Japanese with dyslexia. And before we continue on this video, let me present myself and my dyslexia. My name on the internet is Lapin. I'm French. I'm 30 years old. I've been diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 7 or 6, and I'm learning Japanese since 6 years, so it's been a very long time. I can understand at a good level. Speaking is on the way, like I'm able to have basic conversation, but I would like to be better. I want to talk about politics in Japanese, so I need to step up my game. For reading, so reading horizontally is okay, but reading in column is a nightmare. And for writing, I know how to write katakana and hiragana. And for kanji, it's a necessity for me to learn how to write them, and maybe for you too. And I will explain why in this video, and I'm sorry in advance. And as we continue in this video, I will be only focusing on writing and reading, because for me, this is where my dyslexia is a problem. I'm not gonna give advices on how to be better at understanding or speaking, because it's not the point of this video. This video is about writing and reading, and I'm not gonna make this introduction any longer. So let's start with the first part of this video, reading in your head. With my dyslexia, again, yours can be different, but with my dyslexia, I can read sentences in my head and they will make sense. I will be able to understand the meaning of sentences or word. At the opposite, when I'm reading out loud, my brain cannot focus on saying the word and understand at the same time. And I have faced this problem in French, in English, and Italian. But now I got better with the Latin alphabet, thankfully. But Japanese is a new writing system and a new way of building sentences. So there is too many new information in my brain to process at the same time. So when I'm reading out loud in Japanese, it doesn't make any sense in my brain. No, I'm just saying syllables and that's it. But you know what? I know it's okay. And why I know it's okay is because I have faced the same process in French. I have mastered the Latin alphabet, so probably I will be able to do the same with Japanese. It will take more time, but that's okay. And actually, I already got better at reading in Japanese. And I recommend to start with reading everything in your head, trying to process what it's saying. And then if you have the energy, then you can pronounce the word and the sentences. And also remember, if you have dyslexia, you probably have memories of friends or teacher making fun of you for the way you read. So not being able to read out loud in a language you're learning, this situation will maybe bring you some trauma or some bad memories. Remember, when you learn your native language, you have spent 6 years of your life speaking and hearing it before you were able to read it. So don't worry, nowadays, we learn a new language, we start directly with everything, speaking, understanding, reading, writing, everything is mixed. So for a brain with dyslexia, it's so complex. So please be gentle with yourself. If you don't have the energy for reading out loud, just read in your head peacefully, and that's okay. But maybe also you will face some problem to understand what is written, and that is okay also. And I will try to give you some advices for that, how to understand what you are reading. And to explain this, I need to separate two things. I need to separate how to read horizontally and reading vertically, because for me and probably for you, it's a totally different experience. So let's start with reading horizontally. And I'm lucky here because I'm French, and reading horizontally in Japanese is in the same direction as French or English. We start the sentence from left to right. But the specificity of Japanese is that there is no space between the word and the particles or the verb. Everything is like stuck together. So for a person with dyslexia, it can be hard at the beginning to get used to this. And for me, the difficulties was like to understand what was affected by some particles. For example, o or ni. And I don't know, like some stuff didn't make sense in my head. And if it's a headache sometimes because the sentence is too complicated or too long, I recommend you to use colors. And I will take some very easy example to explain to you what I mean by this. 森さんの子供は学生です。田中さんは小さな公園を歩いている。So what do I mean by putting colors here? Well, I will put colors, for example, to understand what is the subject. So for the two sentences, like the first subject will be 森さんの子供は, and for the second sentence, it will be 田中さんは. The first sentence is very, fairly easy. You don't have any other particles. So it's like the kid of Mori-san is a student. For the second sentence, however, you have 田中さんは, but then you have another block. And this block belong to the O particle, which is 小さな公園を. This is everything that is affected by your O particle. So you see you have three blocks also with the verb. So this sentence means Tanaka is walking in the little park. So this is how putting colors can help you, because you can manipulate in your brain more easily the different blocks. Of course, those are basic examples, like sentences you will see at the beginning of your practice. Maybe you won't need it at an early stage. I didn't personally, but if you have to, that's completely okay. But I had to put a color code for the subordinates. I think it's called like this in English, or like dependent clause, I think. Anyway, the subordonné in French, that was my nemesis for a time. But maybe some of you don't know what is a subordinate or a subordonné, and that is okay. So I will take some example. The first one will be 竹雄くんが書いた話はいい? So here, 竹雄くんが書いた話は belong to the wa particle, everything. So you can see it's like very long and complicated, so we need to understand what's going on inside. You can see that I have put a color code, so here it's red and yellow, and I will always use the same color code. So yellow is the subject of the sentence and red is characterizing the subject. So here you have hanashi wa, so the story, Takeo-kun ga kaita, Takeo-kun had written. And if you take the rest of the sentence, so I, you understand that it means the story that Takeo-kun had written, is it good? I hope you understand. And I will take some more example. 試験に落ちた学生は来週もう一回受ける. For the first sentence, in the yellow part, you have 学生は, which is the student. And then for the red part, you have 試験に落ちた. So if you make the link between the two, you have the student who have failed the exam. And the rest of the sentence have to do it again next week. And for the second sentence, it's exactly the same process. 太郎くんが受けた試験はとっても難しかった. In yellow, you have 試験は, which is the exam. And in red, you have 太郎くんが受けた. So 太郎くん and have passed something. So if you mix the two, you can understand that is the exam that 太郎くん have passed. So in total, the sentence will be the exam that 太郎 have passed was very difficult. I hope that makes sense for you, because for me, the color coding was very efficient. Those kind of sentences, you will study them at the beginning of your practice, like in N5. And this really, I think, improved the speed I learned all of this. And thanks to my teacher, she was the one putting colors. And that was a very good call. And now I really recommend you to do the same, like use color if you need it, because that will help you to see blocks. And that's really useful. So there is another advice that I should have talked to you about before, but it's linked with everything I just explained, is that you should learn the grammar in Japanese. I know on YouTube people tell you not to, because you will figure it out by yourself, but I find it way more efficient to actually learn the grammar, at least the very basic, the N5 and the N4. Like this, you don't have to figure it out, you will just learn how it what works, and it will be way faster. And then there is another advice, less obvious than learn the grammar, is a very old advice. Probably you used this technique when you were younger, but if you have problems focusing on the pages that you are reading, is actually because when you have dyslexia, it's difficult for your eyes and your brain to focus on a text. Sometimes like it will feel like it's wavy, or that you cannot focus, like your eyes will jump from a sentence to another and it will be very hard. So remember, when we were a kid, usually we use our finger or a ruler to be able to focus on the sentence we are supposed to read. Japanese doesn't have spaces, so it looks like a very compact text and it can be very stressful. So take a ruler and take your time to read. That could really help. So those was like my main advice for how to understand what you are reading. But this is what you understand when you are reading horizontally, because then you have understanding when you read in column. And for this, my friend, let me tell you that I am on the same boat as you. Like, I don't know how to do this, and it's really hard. I'm not a professional at reading in column, like I struggle a lot. But yeah, so let's go for the part about reading in column. And before we continue, I have to tell you and remind you that it's been 6 years that I'm learning Japanese. But I only started to read in column 2 years ago, probably, something like this. I started with manga. And why I didn't start before, it's because before it was incredibly frustrating because I didn't have enough vocabulary. So I will read one sentence and I will not understand it. I didn't understand the grammar structure, but also I didn't understand the vocab. So I understood nothing. For real. So this is why I waited until 2 years ago to start to read manga, and I've managed to read a few volumes, maybe like 15, something like this, but I'm very slow at reading in column. And to be honest, as you probably understood already, this is something I feel really bad about it. I also felt ashamed for quite a long time, and this is the part of the practice that is the most frustrating for me. And it was so frustrating that for a year I didn't read a single manga. I decided to really focus on listening Japanese and also trying to practice speaking, but really like the reading part, I was done with it. I was like, no, there is no way, I don't want to do this anymore. But in January I decided, okay, maybe now it's time after a year to start to read manga again, and I bought 2 manga. The first one is Yotsuba, it's very popular, and this one have furigana. It's important for the rest of the video. So yeah, this one have furigana. And then I took this manga, which is about a topic I love. It's about bicycle trip in Japan, and it's full color. It's so beautiful. Like, I already have a manga from this artist, so I was really happy and excited to buy this one. So first I started to read Yotsuba. As you can tell from here, I read like half of it. It was easier than I remember, because probably as I listened to a lot of Japanese speaking, I don't know, because I watched like YouTube video and anime, like that was way easier because it's like daily life conversation, and so they really make sense. Also there is the furigana, so even if I don't know the kanji, I can still read and continue my reading. So Yotsuba really is a good manga to start reading in column because it's about daily life. The drawing also help you to understand the situation even if you don't know the vocabulary or the grammar. And if you have dyslexia, you will understand after why you shouldn't jump directly into a book or a manga that doesn't have furigana, because you will be so frustrated, as I was when I tried to read the other manga I bought. Because this manga make me realize that I cannot read it. And why I cannot read, it's because I didn't learn the kanji the way I should have learned it. Yeah, the kanji are not in my brain. I didn't learn the kanji. It's been 6 years of me learning Japanese, and my teacher put the kanji since the very first day of our Japanese class. So I've been seeing kanji for 6 years now, and I live in Taiwan, and in Taiwan the kanji are the same, like the Chinese character are the same in Taiwan and Japanese. So every day for 2 years I've been seeing the Japanese character. I see them everywhere, so it's not like I don't see them. I see them, but I don't remember them, and that's the problem. So here we are in February 2025, and because I wanted to do this video and I've been thinking about it for a long time, I decided to really check why I do not know kanji. And the answer is very simple, my friend. I don't know the kanji because I didn't learn how to write them. Yes, and I'm so sorry, my friend, to tell you that if you have dyslexia, you have to learn the kanji. You have to learn how to write them with your pen and your paper. Yeah, that's a pain in the ass because there are so many, but I'm telling you, you should learn to write your kanji. But before we jump right into kanji, let's remember us what happened when we were a kid. Because if you had dyslexia, there is a huge chance that you had some problems with letter. You will be confused with P and T, F and V, M and N, B and D. This is very common. So this was a problem for writing. And another one I had was I was writing my letter in reverse. So my name is Angèle, and very often I will write my name like this. So you could really see I had dyslexia. And now that I explained this, let's go back to kanji. Kanji, most of the time, are very complex, but there is some that aren't. And for them, it's easy for your brain to write them in the opposite direction. But to be honest, the kanji, when they are very complex, it's too complicated for my brain to reverse this. No, there is too many stuff there. This is not possible. So my brain would not flip this kind of complicated kanji, thankfully. And also, I know that practicing work because at the very beginning of my learning of Japanese, of course, you have to learn the hiragana and katakana. And there is some that are exactly the same if you reverse them. For example, chi and sa, and se and sa. So this is why learning to write them really helped me. I never had problem with hiragana and katakana. So that's why I know that writing will help me, because it did help me in the Latin alphabet to learn how to write the letter correctly, and it did help me also in Japanese to learn how to write the katakana and the hiragana. So for the kanji, it's the same, it's the same. I know it will work, but you might wonder why I didn't learn the kanji by just watching them, just seeing them and reading them. And I will try to explain with my own research and question, I will try to explain why kanji are so complicated for a dyslexic brain if you don't practice to write them. And the first reason is the radical. So most of the kanji have a radical. There is more than 200 different radical. Most of the time, they're very distinct from each other. So it might not be a problem, right? Wrong. Because my brain will focus only on the radical and then forget the rest. Let's take these two pair of kanji to really show you what I mean by my brain focus only on the radical. Because my brain doesn't pick up the little difference, the detail. A dyslexic brain will see the image a little bit blurry, and you will see the shape but not really. So what will pop out is the radical. This is really what I will see. For me, the radical, I will see it and the rest will be the same. It will be just a blurry potato there. And I'm telling you, this is when I'm reading. So when you read, you go fast. You don't stop at every character. So my brain will never stop at all the kanji to see all the little specific stuff. They will just see shape. That's it. And how did I didn't realize this before? Well, it's very simple. It's because when a kanji is in a verb, the hiragana that will follow will help me remember how to read the kanji. Let's take the same example. So the first one will be ru. But because I know it's a ru and I see the radical, I will be oh yeah, hashiru. Then the other one, I will see kiru. And I know it's kiru and this radical, so I will be oh yeah, okiru. Then you have this one, reru, wasureru. And then the last one, it's koisuru. And this I know again because I will see the radical, I will see the hiragana that follow, and then my brain will create the word. And is the same in English. That's why I had trouble to read like English or French, is that when a word is too long, my brain will focus on the beginning, on the end, and then imagine the rest in the middle. That's why when a dyslexic person is trying to read, sometimes they will say a word that doesn't have sense in the context, but it's just that our brain said, okay, might be this, but it's not. Especially if you never saw the word or you saw it just a few times, there is a high chance you will get it wrong. Practicing to write them will make them easier the next time you see it. Because when you write, you will focus on the detail. When you write kanji and when you write in English or in French, you will focus on writing the correct number of, I don't know, T or L or double M, like this kind of stuff. You will remember them because you have write them so many times. I'm repeating myself, but it's really to make you understand that practice is key there. We really have to deconstruct the structure of the kanji to be able to recall it. Especially because when you have a word or a verb with multiple kanji in a row, then it will be even more confusing. Let's take, for example, jitensha, which means bicycle. I bought a book about like bicycle, and you know what? Like I can approximately see the shape of the first kanji of jitensha. I can see the last kanji of jitensha, but the one in the middle, I have no idea what it is. I have no idea what it looked like because my brain is doing the same as French or English. It will see the first kanji, the last kanji, and then imagine that is this word. But if it's not, like how you recall, you can't. But then you will have another problem, is that when there is different word or different verb that use the same kanji, then you are fucked. Yes. So let's take an example that directly come from a problem I have right now, is to differentiate between this word and this word. I didn't detect this problem at the very beginning of my learning of Japanese because I've learned those two words not only separately, but also in a context that will give me a clue of what they mean. So I will know that yasai and yakyu are very different. Of course, one means vegetables, the other means baseball. The context will tell you what it is. For example, yasai taberu, I eat vegetables. You can understand that it cannot be yakyu o taberu. So it doesn't make any sense. I was going to switch in French because I was going to be mad, like, ça n'a aucun sens. It doesn't make sense to say, I eat baseball. Nope. But if you put a sentence that is not obvious in a context that is not obvious, then I don't know. For example, this sentence. I don't know if I have to read this, Takeo-kun wa yasai suki desu ka? Or Takeo-kun wa yakkyu suki desu ka? I don't know, because for me, the same. And now that you have this explanation, the problem of reverse, the problem of not being able to focus on the detail, not being able to focus like on a full word, now you can understand why reading a manga without furigana is hard. It's because in fact, we don't know the kanji. I mean, I don't know the kanji, so that's why it's hard, but it's even harder because you have to read in column. Let's take jitensha. Jitensha, you know how to read it horizontally. You know what will be blurry. But then if you put this in column, then the system doesn't work anymore because your eyes will not focus on, for example, the radical. It will focus like what's on the top because your eyes is moving like this. But as you don't know the detail of the kanji, then you don't know what it is. This is why you have to learn how to write your kanji, because you need to know the specific detail. You cannot just continue reading with a blurry idea of what they are. There is different approach to learn kanji, and I will explain you mine. First of all, of course, you need to learn in which order you should put your stroke to write it correctly. We learn this with the Latin alphabet, and this is the same for kanji. We have to learn how to write them. Then when you learn the stroke, you need to learn the kanji itself, but I don't recommend you to learn the kanji by itself. I recommend you to learn vocabulary, how it's pronounced and how it's written. Let's take again the example of vegetables and baseball. So first, I have created a new Enki deck, so a new deck of flashcards. And on this deck, I will learn vocabulary and kanji. So what will appear first on my flashcard will be the vocab I want to learn. So I will create 2 cards, one vegetable, one baseball. And then when you flip it, you will see the answer. The kanji, like how it's written in kanji, then the pronunciation in hiragana. And then if I need, I will put how to write the kanji, like really the detail if they are too complicated. So those are the 2 first cards I will create. But then, because I need repetition and I need to see those kanji in different words, I will look up for different kanji. So in yasai and yakyu, I need to focus on the second kanji. So I will look up for vocabulary with them. So yakyu, the Q, I selected the word kyujo, baseball stadium, because I know that I will learn the word stadium is a useful word, and I already saw this kanji in different places, so I know I will learn it, so that's cool. And for the sai of yasai, I took the new word that I didn't know, which is vegetable garden, so sai en, and I created 2 flashcards. So now I have 4 new flashcards with the repetition of the kanji I'm struggling with, and I can continue to look up for more cards with the new kanji I just put in baseball stadium or vegetable garden. And this is how I created a full new deck of flashcards, and I'm really happy about this, and I can really tell you it helped me so much, and I'm so happy, and I can really see the difference, because the more you practice, the better you are becoming. And it's okay, you can take your time, that's all right. I've been learning for 6 years and I'm really far from being fluent, and that's all right. It's okay, like that's okay. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. I really hope I help you a little bit. And I want to say this at the end of the video, but and if you have some advices to give to the community, the dyslexic community who wants to learn Japanese, please write this in the comments, because on the internet I could not find any information about this. So if in the comment section we can help each other, that will be so nice. Yeah, so thank you. I really appreciate it. I want to thank my Patreon for supporting my work. Thank you very much, guys. I love you very much. Thank you for watching, and I will see you, I don't know when, because this YouTube channel is my secondary channel and I don't put many videos on this one. So I don't know, but if you understand French, you can go to my other video. And yeah, good luck for your practice of Japanese. I can do it. You can do it. We can do it. Bye bye.